All right, let's keep it moving here. All good in the chat says right programs for quarterback matters. Look at Darnold and now Cousins. It's a great point.
Yep.
It really
So
is.
true.
Yeah. All right, let's move along to running back. This is where it gets really exciting. So
here's some guys.
Yeah. Josh Jacobs. This year his cap hit was only $5.3 million. Boy, you talking about a steal this year, right?
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind the cap number is going to go up from here on out, obviously, but the majority of the guaranteed money is going to be gone, and people see that 5.3 and say, "What are you talking about, Clayton?" Meaning, after year one, you can get out from under that dead cap number, right? That guaranteed money, if you will. It would accelerate, but you would start to free up money. Meaning, you probably save a little bit of money in year two. We won't pull up his initial contract. We'll definitely save money in year three. But there's no way we're looking to get rid of Josh Jacobs anytime soon. This dude, he's going to be on the roster for at least 3 years, period, case closed. Right?
We'll be lined up outside the offices at 1265 if they even think about moving him.
That's exactly right. So $11.3 million next year is what he's sitting at right now. Here's the thing, too. He may want some more guaranteed money next year, and rightfully so. That's where if he goes to the organization and says, hey, man, you seen the year I put together, give me some more guaranteed money, that could end up benefiting the Packers, as silly as that sounds. You guarantee more of his contract, and you'll be able to shave some of the cap hit off. You can tack on a avoidable year or two, spread it out over the duration of the cap. You could probably lower that $11.3 million cap number next year if you play it just right. I'm not saying they should do that. I feel like we're in pretty decent cap shape, so don't really have to worry about that right now. A.J. Dillon.
Bye-bye, Toby.
All right, let's move it along. Now, unrestricted free agent next year. 2-0 for this says it sucks to think that Dillon is likely gone. It's so true, though, man. Now here's the deal. We got him back on that weird little, rare contract. Now I won't go back through all the details of that. It was kind of like a 1-year tender type thing. $1.2 million against the cap, obviously not bad at all. If he's healthy, is he worth $1.2 million? I think he's worth that kind of money, but he's not worth the roster spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's probably worth that money on another team.
Yeah, you don't want to see him start over Emmanuel Wilson, Chris Brooks, or Marshawn Lloyd, right? You just don't.
Nope. And that's not a knock on anything. We all love A.J. Dillon. He's Wisconsin's own now, as far as we're concerned, right? We're claiming him, and he'll always be one of those fan favorites and all of that. But when you're talking cap hit and you're talking about the future of your running back room, I don't know. I don't see that scenario where he's taking a roster spot in Green Bay.
Yeah. Joseph in the chat says, I don't want AJ over even Brooks. I completely agree with that. Jacob, do you agree with that? Like Dillon kind of seems like the 4th best running back on this team, maybe 5th best, right?
Yeah. It just is, unfortunately, just the case, and it's nothing personally. If this game was about personalities and guys that have
Jordy Nelson would still be playing wide out for us.
Absolutely. I mean, guys that connect with the community. I mean, holy cow. I really do think AJ Dillon will be a part of this community. I think he's done the smart thing. He's a very smart man. You can tell that about him just from his demeanor. I think that he made several business decisions in the Green Bay area to make himself kind of stay here. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think that's what I remember seeing, just certain things that, his family, his wife's family is here. He said he's in love with this place. He doesn't want to leave. That being said, I'm sure that if somebody calls and says, hey, bro, we're going to give you $3 million to come over here and ride pine, I don't think he's going to turn that down, but I think that he'll come back to Green Bay, Door County at some point. And, thank you for your service, Mr. A.J. Dillon, barring any sort of craziness or injuries like you guys talked about, man. Even Chris Brooks, definitely Emmanuel Wilson, and definitely I want to see what Marshawn Lloyd has to offer. So, unfortunately, I think his time is probably coming to a close.
Yeah, I can see that too.
I mean, we have to be real too. We saw some flashes from Ellis Merriweather too during the preseason.
That's true too, dude. Yeah.
So we can't completely write him off either. So that makes it even more complicated to think about keeping a guy like AJ in the lineup.
And I think Ellis Merriweather will be, unless he gets signed to an active roster, he's going to be on the practice squad again next year. I think your running backs are on this page. Marshawn Lloyd at $1.2 million. Emmanuel Wilson, exclusive rights free agent. He'll be back. There's no doubt in my mind. Chris Brooks at $1 million flat. Obviously a great deal there. He's only getting paid $813,000 this year. And then you got Ellis Merriweather as a practice squad back that you can elevate because of injury if you get into a situation, right? So,
Raider McCready says change his position.
That's right. What will we put him at?
Hey, get him to learn how to snap. Just do that long snap, baby.
That's terrible.
Can't touch him.
Kicker.
Yeah.
CJN said there, Clayton, I backed you up on the Anders comment. Sorry, man, got distracted earlier. Listen, but I already got picked up by the ship that come by while I was selling in those waters. You're on your own now. I'm not going back into that chat. CJN, I'm out, brother. Appreciate the support. You might want to delete your comment now. I'm hanging out in here for a while. All right. Let's move on to running back. Again, let's just say a good running back falls to them in the draft. I'm not ruling out that they wouldn't draft them. If you get another Marshawn Lloyd that they have a high draft grade on that falls right in their lap, I could see them drafting them and moving on from Chris Brooks, right? You're looking to upgrade. It just depends on how the board falls, right? So I'm eager to see Marshawn Lloyd on the field, no doubt. But let's move it along to wide receiver. This is where it gets really interesting. So, again, we don't have to make any decisions till next year. I'm going to widen this out for just a second. We'll close it back up. I want you guys to see the unrestricted free agents for next year, right? So Christian Watson is the highest paid receiver on our roster right now at $2.5 million this year.
It's crazy.
Then it's Jaden Reed, $1.6 million. Romeo Dobbs, $1.1 million.
I just caught the ball.
Dontavion Wicks, $990,000. All right. Malik Heath, $918,000. Bo Melton, $915,000. Julian Hicks, $225 on the practice squad. Cornelius Johnson, $200,000.
Cornelius?
Did I say that right?
No, that's great. I'm just saying. I didn't know we had a Cornelius.
Awesome name.
Oh, that sounds like a birth control name there, boys. You ain't getting nobody pregnant with a name like Cornelius. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. All right. Well, I'm named Clayton. What the hell am I talking about?
It's like the boy version or the girl version of Greta. Gertrude. All right.
All right. Sorry if somebody we just lost a sub that's named Gertrude.
Sorry, Germany.
Yeah, that's the way it works, man. Listen, the 1940s were not too long ago. Okay, we will never forget. Joking, Coach Lombardi. We're joking. Christian Watson. Again, let's move on to 2025. So what you've got here, Christian Watson, $2.9 million against the cap. Jaden Reed, $1.9. Romeo Dobbs, 1.2. I ain't looking at the chat after saying that. Dontavion. What is this?
Wasn't he the elf that wanted to be a dentist?
You don't remember
Cornelius?
I want to be a dentist. What?
Okay.
This show sucks so bad. Cornholio. Let me just say Cornholio.
That's terrible.
All right, let's get it back on the tracks. I'm crying. Dontavion Wicks, $1.1 million next year. Malik Heath, $1 million flat. Bo Melton, boys, next year is an exclusive rights free agent. He will be back. How awesome is that? That you've got your entire wide receiver room back as what I would think would be, once again, the cheapest wide receiver room in the entire league. Everybody's under contract now.
Is there with talent? So.
Yeah. And there's a chance that one or two of these guys try to hold out, right? It happens every year in the league. I hope it doesn't happen, but if it does, we're not going to freak out. That's part of the game, right? That's the way it is. This is what I was talking about, like going to Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs early, meaning this year, and saying, hey, let's get you guys an extension. And you could probably get some kind of a discount, going out this early. If you wait till next year, though, you're going to have to pay one of these two guys. Now, I know there's a lot of people, Tim, you would probably say this, pay on both, right? I'm
just might not be possible, though.
Right, and I'm going off of like precedent. What the Packers have done in the past, have they ever paid two wide receivers top 10 wide receiver money? Has that ever happened? And whether you think they're worth it or not, that's what they're going for because that's what the market, when it's your turn, it's your turn, right? So for me, if I had to choose between Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs, it's tough. I mean, it's a real tough decision, but I'm probably going Christian Watson over Dobbs. That's me.
Ooh.
So I want your all's take. If we had to decide right now on one of those two receivers, you have to pick between the two. Who would it be? Because it's tough, man. I'm telling you, I understand the Romeo Dobbs argument. I really do.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Clayton, but that means you've changed that because I remember we talked about this midway through the season, and I believe that you said correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought me and you agreed that Christian Watson is that more flashy player. He's going to demand a bigger signing contract with another team because he could be that big hitter, kind of playmaker. Did that change, or am I putting words in your mouth?
I don't remember what I ate for dinner tonight, so I probably did. The way my stance has always been on it, and again, I don't know if I've conveyed this well enough on the show, is you got to look at the specific positions and the role they play. So Romeo Doubs is a boundary X. That's predominantly what he plays. He can play everywhere, don't get me wrong, but he's that boundary X player. So
he's a walking, talking, explosive play waiting to happen. That's what he is.
To replace him, what you got to ask yourself is, who on this roster can you replace what Christian Watson does? Have you guys seen what he's doing with average yards per catch?
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
So Romeo Doubs isn't doing that, and I don't think Romeo Doubs can do that.
And Bo's got the speed to take the top off the defense, but I don't think Bo is his number one. He's not as tall or as lanky, but he's just as physical and fast. I just don't know if he has that same field tilting ability that a guy like Scoot does. I put Scoot in that same. He's almost like in that Justin Jefferson kind of range of just a big, fast, good, sure-handed target down the field.
Here's the thing too, like what you said with Bo Melton, Tim. If you had to pick one player on this roster who isn't named Christian Watson that would replace Christian Watson, it'd have to be Bo. Bo's got that.
To be, yep.
Right. So this is what I'm talking about, modeling the roster, right? And this is Bill Belichick 101. Who of these guys can replace Christian Watson? Not that he would be better, but who would you try to replace? It'd be Bo Melton for Christian Watson.
Yeah.
Now, do the same thing with Romeo Doubs. Who would you replace him with?
Malik, but I mean.
But think about this, though. Think now. When Romeo Doubs missed that time, who did they put in his place? It was Dontavion Wicks.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Yeah, that's true.
Played him at the boundary X. So you've got Wicks coming back. Now what you got to ask yourself is, if you had to choose between the two, would you rather have Bo Melton in place of Christian Watson and keep Romeo Doubs, or would you rather keep Christian Watson and have Dontavion Wicks play in Romeo Doubs' spot? When I say it that way, I got to be honest with you. I go, I'm not keeping Romeo Doubs.
That's what I'm saying.
It's tough.
Yeah, I agree. Because you keep Doubs and you keep Wicks and you keep Bo. I mean, that's the advantage of like Jacob said, like Scoot. Let's be real. Scoot's going to get real deal money. He's going to get some legitimate, offers. So I think your school of thought is absolutely correct, Clayton. Go to these guys now. Go to them as soon as you possibly can and start trying to work something out. Maybe you start with Watson, because I think he's going to be the tougher negotiation. I think Rome might take anything that's not insulting. I think as long as you don't try and lowball him, I think Rome will probably want to stay. But who knows? That guy's kind of an enigma too. It's hard to get a read on him. But I think maybe it starts with Scoot. You just try to go to him and see how you can keep him around, and then go from there.
Yeah. Now let me put it this way. Now, this is where it's going to get a little bit personal, and I don't want it to take a bad turn, but think about this. Remove everybody's name on this list, okay? These are just nameless, faceless players. And I were to go to you and say, all right, man, we got to choose between two receivers. Here's what we got. We got a dude who is 6'5" and is one of the fastest receivers in the league, okay? Deep threat waiting to happen. The other guy is a sure-handed wide receiver that runs crisp routes. But that other guy that runs the crisp routes, we had to suspend him.
Yeah.
That's a real factor. If you think for a second that the front office and the coaching staff, when they sit down to have this tough discussion, that's not going to come into play. It's going to come into play. It's going to.
And you have to also say personality, because as much as I love Romeo, I really do. And if we keep him, I'm 100% in. I want the jersey. I want all that. But the guy, he's a little bit different. And he's a socially awkward kind of person, to the point where people read into it as if there's something wrong with the front office. There's something wrong with Romeo. There's something wrong with the quarterback. The guy is just very quiet. It's just what he is, man. And he's a unique type of breed. He just caught the ball, man. That's all he does. But to that being said, dude, I don't know how to handle that. And I think it might be just a little bit more of a unique personality than Green Bay is ready to deal with.
Yeah. No, it's a factor. That's all I'm saying. It's definitely a factor. It's tough. Now, here's the other thing, Tim, we got to take into account. Christian Watson is a damn dog at run blocking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Romeo Dobbs is willing to block, but he is nowhere near the blocker that Christian Watson is. Now, Christian Watson is
near the blocker that Tay Wicks is.
Yeah. And Christian Watson, don't get me wrong, is nowhere near the catcher that Romeo Dobbs is. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got their pros and cons. It's tough, man. It's a fascinating conversation. Coach Lynn makes a great point. But if you go Watson, Wicks needs to be more consistent. There's no two ways about that.
True. That's so true.
So, all right. We covered.
But we don't have to worry. They're going to get them both paid. Somehow it's going to work out. They're both going to stay.
That's exactly right, Tim. I'm going to keep speaking it too, my friend. So what you're looking at when you model the roster is you need a boundary X, you need a deep threat in the Z, and you need a slot receiver. Your slot receiver is Jaden Reed. We know that. Your boundary X right now is Romeo Dobbs. Your deep threat Z is Christian Watson. And all these are somewhat interchangeable on where they line up. We're just kind of speaking from a very, very generic standpoint, right, where they line up at. I could see them really like Dontavion Wicks and, okay, let's put him in the boundary X position with his route running ability. We just got to work on his hands, and let's keep Watson. I think that's the direction they would lean in personally. 2-0 for this says, only thing I know is that fans will be mad with whatever decision is made. You are spot on, sir. Spot on. So are we good at wide receiver? You guys want to move on to tight end? Is that cool?
Yes.
We spent a lot of time on that, but man, it's going to be the topic, I'm telling you, going into the offseason. So let's move it back to just 2025. Let's go on to tight end. Check this out. Ooh. Luke Musgrave, cap hit this year, $1.9 million. Obviously, next year he's on the books for $2.3 million. Tucker Kraft, guys, think about this. Some are saying that Tucker Kraft's top 5 tight end. I think he's definitely top 10.
Top 3.
Jacob says top 3. Tim, I think you probably say top 3 too, wouldn't you, man?
I would agree with that statement.
He's fantastic. He's huge. So
here's the guy.
$1.5 million against the cap next year is wild. So Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft will both be back. Ben Sims will be back next year at $1 million flat. Now, John Fitzpatrick is restricted free agent. He'll be back if they want him back, right? Tyler Davis, I can't imagine they're going to bring him back. I mean, this is 2 years in a row that it just hasn't worked out, right? And then Messiah Swinson will be over there baptizing people in the Fox River just because of his name. You know what I'm saying? That's how that's going to work. So, you got 3 tight ends returning. That 4th, if you want him back, I could see them maybe go and comb through free agency for a cheap or really, really good Goody type deal, one of those Ross bargain deals that Jacob's all about, you know what I mean, for a tight end, or potentially draft one a little later in the draft.
Or a 6th or 7th round tight end in the draft or something.
Yeah, but it's nice that you've got that little insurance policy there in John Fitzpatrick. Now, I know there's some rules in place, too, that if a player goes on the practice squad by the end of the year, I want to say that they reset to a futures contract in the offseason. Like, you've got kind of rights to that. I don't know how that'll come into play with John Fitzpatrick. That might be a move that toward the end of the year, you pop him on the practice squad and try to get that to reset. I don't know all the details there, though, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time trying to figure out if that's the case. But tight end, I think we're all in agreement here. You got 3 that are coming back, and you got a little bit of flexibility on the roster to try to get a 4th that could potentially be a playmaker as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. And it's kind of sad with Tyler Davis. I mean, that guy's just injuries. He's like the Grant Hill of our tight end room. You know, this guy just can't catch a break. And now he's getting closer to that dreaded 30-year-old mark here, as he's 27, will be 28 at that time. I think it's probably time for us to move on from that. But I agree. I think you keep your core 3, and I do think Ben Sims has proven week after week that he can be that guy. I almost like him more than Musgrave at this point. And that's just because we haven't seen Musgrave, you know. Sure. So let's see how they pepper him in and get him going again. We know he's a bigger pass catching threat than Ben Sims for sure. But I think Ben Sims is cut from that same cloth that Tucker Kraft is, man. I really do. And those 2 in tandem, they look really good out there together when we're in some of those 2 tight ends. But we'll see. I'm okay. Free agency, late round draft pick, get another guy in here. Same thing with Fitzpatrick. Even Fitzpatrick looked good at times. You know, he, for all we know, that could be our 4th. We just don't know it yet.
Yeah. Could I say one thing real quick? Is just we've talked about how the league progresses and the whole shtick of everybody going into this is that running backs don't matter anymore, right? And then look at the top 3 running backs that left their team to go to another team. And I remember the big knock on tight ends was, well, you're not going to get much out of your rookie tight ends, your first year, your second year tight ends. Tight end is one of the hardest positions to learn when you come into the NFL. Like CJN says, look at what's going on here with the tight ends, with what he considers Kraft to be in the top 5. Brock Bowers, who I believe just broke Mike Ditka's single season tight end receiving record. Trey McBride, who is a very young man. Laporta, very young man. Hawkinson, reasonably young. And Kraft, obviously very young. All of a sudden, it seems like in the last 2 seasons, the tight end position has become a position of value. Again, with that lost resurgence of the running back, where it's like guys that we know it can block. And one of the reasons that I think Tim would agree with me that we could categorize Kraft in a top 3 position there is because he can block, he can catch like crazy, he has yak, and he just has that mentality. He's got the dog type of Gronk. Like, I think Gronk was literally, I love Gronk, but that guy couldn't. I'm surprised he remembers how to spell his name sometimes. All right. So I think Kraft, I love the guy, and he seems to have a little bit more upstairs. Right. So I think that he can actually contribute more in so many more ways. And like Tim said, I think Sims and Kraft are just kind of those similar type of players where it's like they are somewhat of the old school tight end Y inline prototype, but at the same time, they have this weird new thing where you can flex them out in the slot, and all of a sudden they're making plays.
Yeah. And that kind of goes back to the wide receiver talk too. Think about this. Hear me out here a second. What if you bring back Ben Sims and John Fitzpatrick, right? And you've got you go and get, say, a 5th tight end. Just keep this in mind. What if you do have to part ways with either Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs on down the road? Luke Musgrave proves he is healthy and he gets better. That's a guy that you can literally manipulate the defense with 12 personnel and flex him out wide like a wide receiver. That's almost like an insurance policy for the wide receiver room too. That's already deep, right? So that's something to take into consideration.
It takes up a roster spot as a tight end on the depth chart, but then you're looking at them in the offense. You're looking at them basically as another receiver. Yeah.
You could throw him. If you go to an empty set, you could throw him in the 2 or the 3, no problem. You could put him at the 1, and he could do some damage outside, especially if a team playing man coverage and they have to walk a linebacker out there on him. You got the immediate mismatch. That's what they did with Gronk so many times in New England with that 12 personnel. Jacob, you made a comment about the running backs, about how, I know you were kind of being sarcastic because people are like, the running back isn't that important. Look at this, man. The top running backs in the league, check this out. Saquon Barkley at 1,688 yards, right? Where are the Philadelphia Eagles in the standings here? Oh, they're leading their division. Got it. Okay. Derrick Henry with the Ravens, 1,474 yards rushing, right? Where are they at? Oh, they're in the wild card, so they're a playoff team. Josh Jacobs with the Packers, 1,147 yards rushing. That's a playoff team with the Packers sitting at 10-4. You see what I'm saying? Like Kyron Williams, running back for the Rams, 1,121 yards rushing, right? What do we see the Rams do today? Well, they're leading the NFC West now. And Bijan Robinson with the Falcons, who many people criticize the Falcons for drafting him so high, 1,102 yards rushing, averaging 4.7 yards a pop. They're on the cusp of making the playoffs potentially there. So you got the top 5 backs in the league are on playoff teams. I mean, it's a real thing, man. It's important. And I know you were being sarcastic. I'm not saying, hey, you were wrong in this. I know what you were doing there. It's just, as you were talking about that, I'm going, that graphic that we keep pulling up for the weekly update, man, every playoff team, every good playoff team has a solid running back, period, case closed.
Yeah. Some of them have more than one. They've got 2 or 3.
Exactly right. All right. So the other thing I want to do, the reason I widen this out a little bit, Ben Sims is actually a restricted free agent in 2026, so we could have him back in 2026 as well. And I also wanted to point out, look at how many years, like somebody in the chat, I know we already passed it up and it's okay. They had talked about go ahead and sign Tucker Kraft to an extension. You don't have to worry about it until 2026.
Yeah. Right. That's crazy.
Now, they may go to him in 2025 and say, hey, let's work out a long-term deal because it will work out, But again, you got to take what we're saying, the chat's saying what we're saying as fans, hey, we should do this, but you've also got to run it through the filter of precedent through Goody. What have we done in the past, right?
Gas up the forklift. Let's go.
Forklift certified, baby, right there.
Truck Norris.
Worst Photoshop I've ever done. Look at the size of Tuck Norris's head on that body right there.
Yeah. It's a lot of neck.
Is that shot of Tupac LaFleur yelling at the Lions fan before the game?
That was actually the shot. Remember when he was trying to call the timeout?
Oh yeah, and the ref was looking right at him, and he was like, "What?"
And then you notice the Chiefs, the damn ball boy on the sideline was able to call a timeout for the Chiefs.
Oh yeah,
unbelievable. Don't get me started, Jacob. Don't get me started. I heard you over. Oh yeah, you're trying to gas me up. That drives me crazy, man. It's unbelievable.
Hey, can I real quick just throw something on the screen while we're still talking tight ends?
Yeah, as long as it's PG-13.
It will be. All good says both Kraft and Musgrave ran 4.6 40 times, and then Mr. Homestead comes back and says Sims was faster than both. I don't know if that's true. If y'all can get me that in the chat, that would be great. But also, too old for this comes in with the obviously always seasoned chat here. He goes, Kraft is Ricky Bobby, Sims is John C. Riley, and Musgrave is the French guy from Talladega. Peanut butter, Ricky Papa.
What did he say? Formula Yeah, no, Jacob, listen, you probably don't remember it, just like I don't remember what I ate for dinner, like I said earlier. But when we signed Ben Sims, you were excited as hell.
Yeah.
And I remember rolling my eyes going, Jake, he probably won't even be on the roster by the end of the year.
To be fair, I get excited about all the undrafted free agents.
But it was, remember the RAS was in the nines, if I remember
yes.
correctly. It was crazy,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure someone pointed out on the show, and keep checking the chat for the update there. There it is, 4.5 is what I was going to say. Someone told us he ran a 4.5 40, 4.59 40-yard dash, Ben Sims.
Wow.
And he's blocking like a hoss cat right now, too, man. We've shown multiple times he's had pancake blocks when they come out in 12 personnel. Him and Tucker Kraft lined up together on a running play is something to enjoy. That's exactly right. Leaves these defensive linemen like this, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, can I catch a break here? Let's move it along to offensive line. We got about 10 minutes here, man. This flew by. I love talking salary cap, though. So we've got 13 guys on the roster here, including the GOAT, Michael Jordan, when he's not hitting game-winning jump shots. He's also
all in.
So it is funny to see how many players in other sports are named Michael Jordan. You just know why they were named Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? It's like all the kids in Wisconsin that are named Brett, right?
The Seattle defender, I believe, is named Kobe Bryant. And every time I say it, I'm like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about some big shoes to fill, man. Holy cow.
Right.
All right, so let's look at offensive line. Let's focus on 2025, okay, and then we can expand it if we need to. So Elton Jenkins this year, $14.4 million against the cap. It only jumps to $17.6 next year. I feel like that's a steal for Elton. Hopefully he plays a little better as we move along here. Obviously he's had kind of a down year according to PFF, but you look at other measurables and sacks allowed, things like that, he's played pretty darn good. Josh Meyer is obviously going to be an unrestricted free agent in 2025. We've talked about that quite a bit. We can revisit it here in just a second. Jordan Morgan will be on the cap next year at $3.2 million. He was our first round pick this year. Sean Ryan on the cap next year at $1.6 million. Andre Dillard will be an unrestricted free agent. I don't think anybody will miss him, to be honest. I'm not trying to be mean, but Zach Tom next year, boys, $1.2 million against the cap.
Wow.
If there's a holdout on this team waiting to happen, it's that one.
Yeah.
And it's
smell an extension coming.
Or Walker, to be honest. I mean, dude, left tackle. Mm-hmm. He's been playing better than I think any of us ever thought was possible.
The Rasheed Walker one's interesting because left tackles get paid a ton of money.
A lot of money.
I know.
It's like, are we willing to pay him top 5 left tackle money? I can't definitively say yes.
While at the same time trying to keep Zach Tom
exactly.
happy. Yeah.
Exactly. And here's the thing. I want everybody to be well aware of my stance on this. The second that Zach Tom says, I'm holding out for a contract, I'm going, get that man his money. I'm saying it right off the bat. The fact that he's made $1.1 million this year and played like a top 5 tackle, the second he wants the money, you need to give him the money, man. Please don't go down that road of and listen, we go back to precedent. Goody was always willing to pay a star tackle top money, right? We've seen it across the board at a fault with David Bakhtiari, right? So Zach Tom, $1.2 million against the cap next year. And here's the thing too. If we sign that extension going into next year, which most likely will happen, that's typically what they do with these players who are not first-round picks, and you can hit them with the fifth-year option. What will typically happen is it'll get done in camp. And when it gets done, that cap number for 2025 may increase with the extension to absorb some of that cap hit early where you can spread it out later, right? Joseph in the chat, back the Brinks truck up for Zach Tom. Amen to that. Amen. And I don't even want to – I'm not going to say it. I was going to walk down the potential negative side of it. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to jinx it. That would be absolutely horrible. Rasheed Walker, $1.1 million. Again, that's the tough one. I'm going to go around the horn with you guys and you give me your full assessment of the offensive line. But Jacob Monk, $1 million flat. If he can work himself into a starting job or a key contributor next year at $1 million is going to be a heck of a bargain. Travis Glover, $1 million flat. Kadeem Telford is an exclusive rights free agent next year. So if you want him back, you can bring him back. And then, of course, these guys on the practice squad should reset to roughly a 2-year deal with the futures contract. And Donovan Jennings, Marquise Hayes, didn't even know he was on the roster, and Michael Jordan making a cool $67,200. So, you guys have the floor. Tim, we'll start with you, buddy. What do you think about this offensive line? And there's going to be some decisions that have to be made, and I think we just identified one is Zach Tom and Rasheed Walker. Like, how are you going to pay both those guys, right?
You're going to pay Zach Tom first. That's the first doggone thing you're going to do is get Zach Tom his money.
I'm getting the tacos de carne asada and making sure the check clears before I go for the Pollo Loco or whatever the heck it's called. Right? Go ahead.
No, but you got to get him paid. I think you're right. If you even know that the writing's on the wall that he may or may not be a holdout, just get it done. Get to work. Get something drafted. Get it signed. Get it done. Because then we're going to understand a little bit better about, the other issue we need to address, which is, Rasheed Walker at left tackle potentially. So, you get the deal with Zach Tom done, puts you in a better position to understand what you need to do to try and keep Rasheed Walker. I look at Josh Myers, good old Joshy boy. I don't know, man. My gut's telling me Jacob Monk might be our center of the future. If that's the case, then I think Josh just goes to free agency, and best wishes to him. We were here last year with JRJ, right? A guy that you really love in the locker room, and you love him as a teammate, but it was time. It was time for him to go to the market and get a contract somewhere. And then I think Andre Dillard probably gone, right? And I am kind of excited about both Glover and Kadeem Telford as kind of like your contingency plans and waiting if something goes south with Rasheed Walker. It brings some value too, but definitely priority one is, back up the Brinks truck. Absolutely. Get Zach Tom his money, get that away.
Yeah. I know for one thing is for sure, and that's that Emilio wants Travis Glover next year for sure. He's going to have that guy penciled in. Personally,
he wants him to play slot receiver.
He wants him to play both sides like Travis. Yeah, Hunter. I've went so back and forth on Josh Myers, and this year all of a sudden, of course, it's his last year when his back's to the wall, and we have to decide whether or not we're going to pay this guy real money. I'm not ready to pay him real money, even though I think that if this was if Josh Myers would have played like this in year 1, year 2, year 3, I would have given him the money. I would have. And I like to see the progression that we talked about with Sean Ryan and guys. I think Dillard's gone. Yeah. It's weird to me. And you guys correct me, Tim, if I'm wrong. Is it not? I should say it's rare that you would overpay a right tackle versus a left tackle and prioritize that. Is that not kind of
a right-handed quarterback? Yeah, I would.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and if it's 2 or something, then okay. But I just think that Zach Tom is the best player we have. But I really do think Rasheed has not gotten a lot of credit that he deserves, man. I mean, you watch even some. He's obviously you guys know my favorite highlight is him in Penn State finishing the move, as I'll say. He did some of that same, you seen that brutalness out of him. I don't know if you guys watched, he did almost the reverse Reggie White for shoulder chuck. You know what I'm talking about?
He gave him the bouncer move. Get out of the bar.
He just sent him into the shadow realm and just said, all right, come back next time.
Here's the question though, with Rasheed Walker. Is he worth $27 million a year?
And that's the thing. I don't know.
That's
But
that's the toughest question, right?
What Ron said.
'Cause everything you said is true.
there he goes, right there. Yep.
Yeah, Ron, here, perfect. Top left tackle money is 25 to 27 million a year. Okay, so I was a little on the higher end of that. But let's say it's 25. Is he worth 25 million a year?
The only thing I'll argue for that point is that imagine if for whatever reason next year we go in, we don't have a center that's proven, and we don't have a left tackle or into that year.
First of all, Josh Myers is proven.
Right. I'm just saying, do we want to take apart because guys, I don't know. Again, I did not have on my Packers bingo card that our offensive line would be pretty darn good in the past. We always kind of expect that, but the run game, this is not normal. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys are actually producing at a level that I'm pretty excited about. And obviously, what up, Murph? Just talked about Jordan Morgan. Obviously, that was kind of a scratch this year. People roll their eyes and they say, oh, it's another bad Goody pick. No, it's just one that's going to take a couple, maybe just you have to wait.
Is he your right guard if Sean Ryan moves to center?
Well, that's a. Would you rather have Ryan go to center or Jenkins?
Neither. They both stay right the hell where they're at right now.
Okay, all right, I'm cool with that.
And see me, I look at it totally different. I see center as that tier 2 of importance. I would like to see Elton Jenkins kick to center.
I agree.
What Murph's saying here, again, we don't have to think about left tackle until 2026, right? Yep. So we got to take it in consideration. You go ahead and extend Zach Tom. You see if Rasheed Walker continues to improve. And then if you force to pay him top tackle money, then you are. Now, what's the precedent? To the best of my knowledge, Goody has only paid 2 offensive linemen top money, right? So, like, for example, David Bakhtiari, you made him the highest paid tackle in the league, and you paid Elton Jenkins like the next year. Who else did you pay on that offensive line? You didn't. You just continue to draft and develop, right? So you can bank on 2 offensive linemen getting paid top money. Who are those 2? Elton Jenkins has already got the bag, okay? And then you've got Zach Tom is going to get the bag. Those are your 2 as it sits right now. Now, if you get in on 2026, and a matter of fact, let me just take a look here. I'm going to try to expand this out. I want to see Elton is under contract in 2026. A play could potentially be tack on a couple of voidable years and reduce his cap down, say 10 or 12 million. Meaning, let's say you convert $15,000 in salary to signing bonus for Elton Jenkins, and you spread that 15 out over 3 years. Then you're going to take 15 million off the cap for 2026 and spread it out over 27, 28, and 29. That could free up the money to pay Rasheed Walker a good chunk. It's almost like you're getting a 50% discount on that current year. I know you got to pay the piper. It's going to come due. The cap's going to continue to go up. If they do this, if they go on this road, the salary cap gloom and doomers will be knocking at the door like they were 3 years ago. Oh, my God, what are we going to do? But that's an option too. So, again, we've only paid 2 offensive linemen under the Goody, Brian Gutekunst as general manager. We've only paid 2 top money. I think it's going to be Elton Jenkins and Zach Tom for sure. And if Rasheed Walker makes himself indispensable, then you'll probably see an adjustment of Elton Jenkins' contract, tack on voidable years, pay Rasheed Walker, and then Elton Jenkins is going to be gone in a year or 2. That makes sense? So I kind of see that playing out. Now, what she said, Murph's saying here, if you get to 2026 and Rasheed Walker wants to play hardball, right, and he wants to get the bag and you don't want to pay him, then you've got a guy who's got experience at left tackle. His whole life he's played left tackle. He hadn't played guard until he stepped in this year. That's why I was a little more patient with him playing guard this year. Like, hey, it's a different position. It may take a little bit of time to get acclimated with it. Unfortunately, the shoulder injury sets you back, but that could potentially be your left tackle.
I think there's something to be said though about, because I agree with what you're saying. Coach Lynn had a question, or basically in the chat too, said kind of the same thing. Do you think Morgan can play tackle moving forward? I'm with you, Clayton. He played tackle at Arizona. He's been a tackle, right? But the Green Bay Packers don't think he can play tackle. He's listed as a guard. He was moved into that position almost immediately upon coming to camp. So I think they look at him as an interior lineman in the NFL, and I think we got to consider that going forward. And I'm not saying that they can't move him to tackle in a pinch or something, but I think they want to develop him as a guard.
let's go off precedent again. This is a great little case study, and we'll get ready to wrap up after this. When have they ever taken a guard and moved them to left tackle? Let's think. Let's put our heads together. Think. In the last 10, 15, 20 years, when was the last time the Packers took a guard and moved them to left tackle? I cannot think of a time.
You had Jenkins, though, technically, for a time?
Yeah, just for a short stint, but it was just to fill in for injury, right? So I'm talking about like to make them the starting left tackle. That's essentially what we're talking about, assuming everyone is healthy, right? Chad Clifton was your left tackle, remember?
Yeah.
They drafted Brian Bulaga, and they tried him at guard, and he stunk at guard, so they moved him to right tackle. And then they hit on David Bakhtiari late in the draft, and he replaced at left tackle. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that moving him to guard in his rookie year was just to like get him to the field, let's see what we can do kind of thing?
You talking about Bulaga?
No, I'm talking about Jordan Morgan. Because like you're saying,
no. What I'm saying, Tim, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying they must see him as a guard because now listen, they could come out and move him to left tackle. That could happen. I'm just simply saying it would break precedent. You know what I mean?
That's exactly. Yeah. So, and that's not my opinion or your opinion. I'm saying that it seems to be what the facts are right now is that he's a guard. They're looking at him as a guard. And I think you're right. The very unlikely chance that they're going to move him to tackle. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, if push came to shove, right, and you had to have a left tackle, I could see them moving Zach Tom from right tackle to left tackle and trying to replace him at right tackle because left tackle is way more important than right tackle. But right now, it's not a problem we've got because Rasheed Walker is one of the best pass blockers in the game, you know?
And it's generally not common or very easy for a right tackle to move to the left and vice versa. But, man, if there's a player that can do it, it's Zach Tom.
Yeah. Exactly. He's just so damn versatile, man. He can play everywhere on that line.
Yeah. Yeah, why aren't we're done talking about him for center?
Who's Zach Tom?
Zach Tom. We were talking about him playing center for a while.
Yeah, I've never liked that idea, to be honest. It's he can do it. And you guys remember he filled in a pinch. Was it last year, I think, that he came in at center? And he played damn good. The offensive line got so much better when he filled in for Josh Myers at center. I remember that specifically, that game. Because I remember it was Mike Wall talking about it. Was like, holy cow, did this offensive line take off when Zach Tom went to center? But it's just so important at right tackle, no doubt. Especially seeing that you want to run the ball as much as LaFleur does and all that. So, man, we covered a lot here, boys. We hit the whole offensive side of the ball. What we'll do in the morning is we'll pick right up where we left off for Good Morning Lambeau, and we'll do the defensive side. But I think we came away with more questions than answers, to be honest with you. But it's going to be cool to see these storylines kind of play out as we move into the next
Too old for this. Figured it out. Put A.J. Dillon as center. Fun deal.
Boom.
All right, Jacob, you got anything else you want to hit on, Bub, as we wrap up here? We're a little over, but this was fun, man.
No, but one thing that I just popped into my mind earlier today when we were watching the games is like, if we could go through, we all had our guys in the draft, and all of a sudden you're starting to see these guys pepper in. One of them was at the end of the Seahawks Minnesota game. Me and Tim talked about AJ Barnes was a late round Michigan tight end who had a similar type of RAS as like the early round guys, but for whatever reason was fallen. Guy made a miraculous, I should say miraculous, but a very good
AJ Barner, is that who it is?
AJ Barner, yes, yeah, my bad. Michigan tight end, and almost won that game for the Seattle. So, and I've seen a lot of other players around the league where it's like, oh, I remember that guy. And I will just say this: as we go into the playoffs, we're going to win the Super Bowl, obviously. But if something were to happen and we don't quite reach the pinnacle, the peak of the, bringing the Lombardi Trophy home, just guys, be excited. I had a weird, excited moment today when I thought, worst case scenario, we don't even make the playoffs. What happens? Well, the next day we wake up, we do Good Morning Lambeau, and we start talking about draft prospects. And we start the cycle all over what we did from these last few years. It's fun. It's really fun. I almost look forward now to the off season in a way. I shouldn't say more than the season because that's crazy, but it's a whole different. It's a whole different, like, I love looking at the draft. I love looking at the prospects. I love looking at the offseason and going into the training camp. Guys, it went by so fast. And I think we're really excited to have more seasons going in because we're starting to get better at this. I'm going to be, we're really, you guys, Clayton specifically with his board, that thing gets more tweaked and more tweaked and more every year to the point where it's starting to be like, yo, the Browns are going to call Clayton at any point. And
Clayton's going to say, I'm busy. Click.
Now, it's funny, though, because every year when the board's complete and we get 1 or 2 rounds of the draft, I go, damn it, I should have changed that. And
hold on, Clayton, I got Goody on the phone. Hold on. Goody wants to talk to Clayton. Hold on.
Yeah. Goody says, stop.
He said he's going to have to call you back. He's a little busy right now.
No, it's a fun time, Jake. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've already thought about how we're going to organize everything as we get into the off season. Free agency last year was a blast. You guys remember, like the top guy on our board for in terms of like free agent potential was like Xavier McKinney. And I'll be damned, we went live right during free agency, and what happened? Packers are one of the top. Well, I think it was the Packers and the Eagles were after Xavier McKinney, if I remember correctly. And to land him was just an absolute blast.
From a long way from the Jimmy Graham signing.
Yeah, Jacob, here's what's cool. We're going to be in Green Bay for the draft this year.
Oh,
boy. Live show from the Airbnb for the draft party. It's going to be absolutely awesome. And we may have what I thought we'd do is have a couple people over there on site so we can have them call in and chat about what the environment's like, all that good stuff. It's going to be awesome, man. So Fred McFarley says you guys had the best draft day coverage by far, not even close. Appreciate that, Fred. Thank you, bud. We have fun with it too, man. We really do try to have fun with it. We don't want it to be just boring looking at spreadsheets, but it's just fun to try to figure out what's going on, and try to, again, total access. We named it that because we want to look at it from the team's perspective, not a fan's perspective. You get the shock effect. You get people out there complaining, cussing, screaming, drunk on podcasts, and I got you. There's a place for that. But we wanted to look at it like, what is the team thinking about right now? And I know there's some people who probably watch this and goes, guys, we play a ball game tomorrow. Like, why are we talking off season? Because this is the stuff that Goody's going through right now. He's prepping as we.
There is no off season for GMs.
Yeah,
there really isn't. They're always working, right? Or, like Jake Shavink says, right? It's always draft season. Always. There's always something to look at.
Definitely.
And you think it's fair? You think it's fair to say that that's what separates the teams that have perennial success, because the fact that they don't take, like Tim just said, there's no off season. We're sitting here, guys. If you're a real GM, you're scouting guys week 8 into season for the next year. You know what I mean? It's just, I feel like there's a science almost to it. There's a formula that certain GMs, certain organizations follow that just you punch this into the formula, you're going to get success. And if you don't, you're going to end up like the Bears, the Panthers, and insert any team like that.
Yeah, Prince in the chat said draft talk is what brought me to this channel last year, and the live coverage was great here. Like Fred said, that's the other thing too. Like many podcasters, when we get in the off season, they take time off. They don't go. There's not much to talk about. I want to go live every day during that time because I know people like Prince and others. That's the hardcore fans that are looking for Packer content when it matters the most. When you're trying to dive into what's the next roster going to look like, those are the people we want sub to the channel.
And then the preseason becomes even more fun to watch because now you're seeing your guys, and you're going to see them play a lot of football during the preseason games, and it's always fun.
Yeah, definitely. CJN said there's no off season for PTA and the posse. Amen to that, buddy. Amen. All right, guys, let's get out of here. We're way over. I'm probably going downstairs, and my wife will be gone. There'll be divorce papers on the counter.
You hurt me, Brett.
So appreciate everybody hanging out with us tonight. It was a lot of fun. If you would hit that like button, we had huge numbers tonight. It's just a testament to this fan base, and Packers aren't even playing tonight, and we're on here just talking ball. Update: Dallas is now inside. Looks like they're on the Tampa Bay 11-yard line, inside the middle 8. 2 minutes left, right at the 2-minute warning. They're leading 13-7 over Tampa. So go Cowboys tonight. Let's go watch.
Let's go, Jerry World. Let's go.
That's right. So we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Probably will be 8 a.m. Central Time in the morning. We'll go live for Good Morning Lambeau. And then, of course, we'll be going live for a pregame show about an hour and a half before kickoff. And we'll be doing a postgame show up till the butt crack of dawn Tuesday morning. So that's the way that'll work. But thanks, everybody. We will see y'all tomorrow morning. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world and go back.
There we go.
Bye, guys.